Alright guys, I got another video project here today. This one is actually geared more towards video production. That's why I've kind of got all my, at least some of my video gear out here on the table. Now there's a channel that I'm subscribed to called weldingtipsandtricks.com. The guy who films it, his name's Jody. It's a fantastic channel. A lot of good welding advice, a lot of real good video quality, and Jody himself is really entertaining to watch and to listen to. And in his videos, he does what he's called arc shots, and I believe that's kind of become the common term. And effectively, what he's done is he's taken welding lenses and he's placed his camera behind the welding lens, and he gets up. I'm not sure exactly how close he gets to the actual weld. I think there's some post-production zoom or magnification involved. But he shows exactly what's going on at the bead, at the weld puddle. And so that's a dimension to my videos that I want to start doing. So this video is about, we're going to fabricate a little box that we can mount onto any kind of tripod. All these tripods have a little threaded screw on them, and they're all quarter inch 20 threads per inch. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to fabricate a box. The three cameras that I use in my videos, got the GoPro Hero3 Silver, and then I also use my phone. It's an iPhone 6. And then the video that I'm recording on right now is just a pretty simple JVC video camera. Nothing too fancy. So those are the three cameras, and so my box has to be able to hold all three of these cameras. Now the little GoPro can fit in anything, but you know, the iPhone has to sit in that manner right there. It's best to film lengthwise like this. If you do it like that on the screen, you'll notice, if you've watched other YouTube videos, you'll see that there's basically the video in the center, and then you got dark spots on either side. So it's really best to turn your phone on its side 90 degrees and film it like that. So the box has to have the width to handle the phone, and the phone's about 5 inches long. The JVC camera with the viewfinder open is also about 5 inches, and then, like I said, the GoPro, it's a little tiny thing. So the material that we're going to be using, this is some leftover stuff from my fan shroud project on my C10 truck. This is 80 thousandths thick 5052 aluminum. The material that you use to fabricate one of these could be anything, but as I mentioned in the end of that, there's two-part series on that shroud. I want more aluminum projects. I was really happy with my welds on that fan shroud, so I wanted to do more. I want more practice on aluminum, and I want to do more aluminum projects. So I've got this stuff kicking around, so we're going to use this to build our little box. And then I have another welding lens on order. This is a number 10 shade, and this one's pretty bad. I've tried to film through it before, and it's real scratched up and basically worthless. I ordered one more number 10 shade off of eBay. It's probably made in China. That's fine with me. The price was right. For this instance, I'm not trying to protect my eyes. If I was, I would go with a name brand, made in the USA welding lens, but all we're doing is we're putting a camera behind that lens. So, and then of course you're watching it through the screen. Really no damage to your eyes. So these are the materials. That's the plan. So I guess the thing now is just get started. So now I got to bend them over. I don't have a press brake or a sheet metal brake. All I got, some fat pieces of square tubing. So we'll get this set up. This is the same method I used to make those flanges on the fan shroud project. So we'll just do the same thing here. We'll measure this out and basically just hammer that over and make a 90-degree bend in this aluminum. Alright, so basically here's our box. Take these two pieces. So we got two weld seams. If I had a sheet metal brake, I could have made this out of one piece of aluminum and only had one seam to weld up, but I don't. I just got the square tubing. So we'll get these joints prepped. We'll weld these joints, and then we'll move on to our little faceplate thing that we got to make here to hold the lens in place. Alright, not too bad. Let's see if I can grab this thing without getting burned. A little toasty. There we go, focused in. So, not too bad. Certainly not weld porn. But again, like I said, I'm looking for aluminum projects that I can practice on. I've padded a lot of beads and I kind of want to start actually making something. So we'll let this cool down. We got a few more pieces that we got to cut out. So let's go get on that. Alright, so I've already made the exterior dimensions here of one of our cover plates. This is actually going to be one of the plates that holds the welding lens to the box. Just like that. Outside dimensions 6 1/4, 5 1/2. I'm going to give this, we obviously, you know, we got to have a hole here in the middle. So I'm going to measure off 3/4 of an inch all the way around, and then we're going to cut out, you know, whatever's left there in the middle. So all this area here is going to get cut out. Alright, so there's our piece fully cut out. This is what our lens is going to rest up against. Sort of that fashion right there. Now we actually need to make another one similar to this, but not exact. Basically it's going to be all of this, it's going to be a U shape. We're going to lop it off right there at the top, so there's not going to be a bar across the top there. Just down here, up like that, and that's our next piece that we got to cut out. Okay, here's our two little lens pieces. Now there's still a few more things that we need to fabricate here, but got the welding lens like that, and then this one is going to go over it like that, and then I've got some 1/8 inch strips of aluminum that I need to cut, and we're going to make a spacer along each side there. That's going to space this. I measured this, the thickness of this welding lens, at about 110 thousandths, so 125 thousandths. We'll give it a little bit of clearance. So basically it's going to be like that. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I want to be able to easily remove this lens. One, because I only ordered a number 10 lens. The arc shots might be better with a number 9 lens or a number 12 lens or something like that. So one, to be able to swap out the lenses for the best shot. Number two, when I have the camera in the box, I'll have the lens out so I can focus my shot where I want it to be, and then put the lens in place like that and just leave it. Once I get the camera zoomed in how I want it, or positioned how I want it, focused in on where I want it, then I put the lens in place. Because with the lens in place, I'm not going to be able to see anything through the viewfinder since it's a fixed lens. It's not a auto dark lens. So that's why it needs to be removable. So I need to cut some thin strips, about 3/8 of an inch wide. We'll put one there on the bottom so that the lens doesn't slide out the bottom. And we're just about done with this. All right, here's the material I have that I'm going to use to make my spacers. I think I bought this at like Lowe's or Home Depot or something like that, which is a terrible, terrible place to actually buy your material. You can barely see it on there. 3/4 of an inch in width, 1/8 of an inch in thickness. So like I said earlier, I need 3/8 of an inch spacers, 3/8 of an inch wide spacers on each side. Well, half of 3/4 is 3/8. Now they'll be a little bit narrower than 3/8 each piece because of the kerf or the thickness of the blade. So, but this is perfect. I don't know what grade of aluminum it is. It doesn't really matter for this project. So really all I need to do is just build some kind of fence here, clamp it in place so that I can get this material split right down the center. So let me get to making that, and then we'll make our cut. All right, let me see if I can put this together just by hand to kind of show you how it goes. So there's our main piece that gets welded to the box. And there's our lens. Then we've got our 3/8 inch strips. There's one here at the bottom, in that manner. Two along the sides. Like that, and then this piece will go on top, and that's how our lens gets held into the box. So just got to do a little filing, a little sanding, a little cleanup on all these little parts, and then we're ready to go back inside, back in the air conditioning, and do some welding. Okay, so got everything scrubbed down with the wire brush, cleaned off with alcohol. Kind of set in place right now, ready to get some tack welds. So we'll throw 4-corner tack welds on there, and then lay some beads in there. I've got a little bit of a gap on each side here. The top and bottom are just fine, so I may see if I can put a clamp on that and kind of tighten this in a little bit to shrink that gap to eliminate it or to shrink it, or at least shrink it. So, but for now, let's get some tacks on there. So in the mail, I got my lens that I ordered off of eBay, and I was surprised. I mentioned earlier in the video that I thought it was going to be some Chinese off-brand because there really wasn't much information given in the listing other than it was $2.50 shipped to my door. Turns out it is a Radner, and there you can see a number 10 shade lens, and it's getting this in the mail has brought on a slight design change to our box here. This plastic lens here is the one I was using for mock-up. This one measures in, it's about 110, 111 thousandths, something like that. And that's what I've been basing off of, and that's why I cut these 1/8" spacers right here to go on the side. Well, this new lens is thicker. It's actually measuring in 100, almost a perfect 1/8 of an inch. So, with our 1/8 of an inch spacers, that's going to be too tight when all of this is put together. So these spacers went on the side, this one on the bottom, similar to that. And we had our lens in there, and then our cover plate like that. It's going to be too tight. I'm not going to be able to, I'd have to pull real hard to get this lens out of there. So the design change is just adding extra spacers. And I went digging through my cache of material that I've got laying around here and found this. It's 1/16 of an inch thick, 1/2 inch wide aluminum. This was another Home Depot Lowe's purchase, so I don't know the grade of aluminum, I only know the dimensions. So I went ahead and cut some 1/16 inch spacers. These are going to go on the sides, on the bottom. Basically, we're going to stack spacers, and we're going to weld them in. And we put our 1/8 inchers on there, like that. Then our cover, and that should give me room to get that lens out of the box there. So that's just a real simple design change. We'll just get all this taken apart, and these new little spacers, I've already hit them with the wire brush, the stainless wire brush, wiped them with some alcohol, so they're all ready to be welded. So let's just fire up the welder and stick all these little pieces on here. Okay, so these little 1/16 inch strips are welded into place. I just wanted to do another quick test fit here. Alright, that's fitting pretty good. It's not stuck in there. So that's good. One thing to note, this 1/16 inch material was just absolutely welding like crap. And as I mentioned before, it's Home Depot stuff. I don't know what grade of aluminum it is, and these little 1/8 inch strips were also some Home Depot aluminum material. I don't have high hopes for them, but we'll get through it. It just goes to prove that you got to know where your materials come from. Otherwise, you end up with some really god-awful welds. I have scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed this thing with the wire brush, trying to get it to weld up clean, thinking that it was just a real thick layer of oxide, but I don't think that's the case. So we'll just motor on. We'll get this done. So I have all the spacers welded on. Everything's welded in place, still kind of warm. This spacer material, this Home Depot aluminum that I bought, that stuff is just junk. I mean, it welded like crap. The 5052, the material that I bought at my metal store, and I know what the grade of aluminum of this is, that welded just fine. But whatever this crap is, it's just terrible for welding. So, lesson learned there, don't buy your material at Home Depot. I guess unless you're going to put some type of mechanical fastener in it, you're not going to weld it. So I'm going to let this cool down for just a little bit, and then we're going to put our top piece in place. Well, all the welding here on the front, on the face of it's finished. We have our spacers welded in, we have our cover plate, our lens retainer plate, I guess I should say, welded in place. Still a little warm, but let me spin it around for you. Not that great. It'll hold. These welds will certainly hold, but they look like, well, I guess as Jody would say, they look like Fido's butt. So, but nonetheless, the very last minute I was actually able to string together a half decent looking bead. That was not bad. It's a little wandery, but it's nice and shiny and the ripples are even. So, but I thought I would show you this because I'm going to take it out in the driveway on the workbench out there. Grind it smooth. Make it look good. But I thought I would show you my work so far. And you're going to get to see it. Once we get this thing all assembled, we're going to test it. So you're actually going to get to see how bad of a welder, or at least how bad of a TIG welder I really am. So let me go grind that smooth, and we got a couple more things to do, and then we'll be able to test it. So I've got this thing smoothed out. It's kind of funny when you're not very good at welding, you get to be pretty good at grinding. So I hit this with the 4.5 inch angle grinder. I think it was an 80 grit flat wheel, and then I used my little electric DA sander and some 150 grit sandpaper. So we got one more little thing we need to weld on, but before we do that, before we go and make this thing all hot again, let's test fit our lens. I don't want to totally drop it. There we go. That fits pretty okay. I think I'm gonna put like a piece of tape that has like a little handle, basically a little handle on there, a little tab that I can grab onto and pull this out. But it's a little loose in there, but I knew it was gonna be loose. So let's get the fabrication on this finished up, and then we can test it, and sort of a test and tune session to see, you know, if we're getting light in there. I may have to even spray paint this whole thing with some real flat black spray paint to reduce any glare or anything. But this is a little piece, just a little piece of 1/8 inch aluminum. We're going to weld it to the bottom. I'll show you that here in just a second. So I've got it turned upside down right now, and like I just mentioned, we're going to weld on this little piece of 1/8 inch aluminum. I'm going to weld it here closer to the front to balance the weight, because this, I mean, it's not super heavy, but I was anticipating a plastic lens, and I got a glass one, which is fine, but glass is certainly heavier than plastic, and what I'm trying to do is balance the weight. Once it's actually mounted onto a tripod, I don't want it, you know, if it's mounted back here, you got a lot of weight that's trying to fall forward. So I'm trying to balance the weight by putting this tab right there. And what I'm going to do, I'm just adding some extra material because I'm going to drill it and tap it for 1/4 20. That's pretty standard on most tripods. This is just a little Targus, a little stubby but extendable tripod that I've got. That's a 1/4 20 fastener. This is a GoPro mount, a little suction mount. Again, 1/4 20 fastener. And I actually own a riv nut tool, and I have some nut zerts, some 1/4-20 nut zerts kicking around, but I don't, when you put these in, it's just like a rivet. You're going to have some material on the back side. You're going to have part of the fastener on the back side, and I don't want that. I want it to be smooth on the inside, and since these little fasteners for the tripods, these 1/4-20 little thumb wheel bolts, I mean, they're stumpy. I mean, you can see that. They're just, I mean, there's like a 1/4 inch material sticking up there. This one's a little bit different because it's got this thumb wheel little tightener thing, which you can take that off and get more, but you don't need any more than that little 1/4 inch. That's plenty. So I'm going to weld this on. We're going to weld it on here closer to the front, center it up, drill it and tap it for 1/4-20, and then we should be able to put it on a tripod, put a camera in there, and do a little test and tune on this thing and see if we can get it dialed in to get some good video. Well, if you look at any tap chart, the drill size for a 1/4-20 tap is a number 7 drill bit. Well, I don't have any drill bits that are labeled in that manner, so 13/64, just a shade under 200 thousandths, and you're looking for about a 200 thousandths diameter hole. So 13/64 is what we're going to use. Alright, tapping 1/4-20. I don't have any specific aluminum tap lube, but WD-40 for aluminum works as a good tapping lubricant, but for steel you want to use some oil. Alright, let's test and see if the threads are good. Well, we've got engagement. Alright. I do believe that works. That. It is a little top heavy, like I was afraid of, but might just have to adjust that with some camera angles or something like that. That works pretty good. Let's test it on the GoPro mount. Works pretty all right. Okay. Very cool. Now we just got to put the number 10 lens in there and the camera and lay some beads. So we'll give that a shot.